1 Samuel 20 and verse number 18, we come to this passage, and David is concerned that Saul is seeking his life. He's trying to find out whether or not Saul is wanting to kill him. And so Jonathan and David, they make this pact, if you will, and Jonathan says, you stay here, and I'm going to find out if my father is indeed wanting to kill you, or if it's safe for you at the palace. And this was what they said they would do. The next day, Jonathan would shoot arrows, and he would have his servant boy go get the arrows. And this is what he said, verse number 21. It says, and behold, I will send a lad, saying, go find out the arrows. If I expressly say unto the lad, behold, the arrows are on this side of thee, take them, then come thou, for there is peace to thee, and no hurt, as the Lord liveth. Verse number 22 says this, but if I say thus unto the young man, behold, the arrows are beyond thee, go thy way, for the Lord hath sent thee away. And what he was saying to David was, if I tell the boy the arrows are on this side of you, then you will hear from the tree line that it is safe. But if I say to the boy, the arrows are beyond thee, that will be a code to you that my father is indeed seeking your life, and you need to go your way. I think it's interesting that that is the language that was used here. The arrows are beyond thee. He said, look, David, I believe everything's going to be okay. I believe it's within our control to change the situation, to get you back into the king's household. But if it's not within our control, if it's hopeless humanly, if it's not within our power to change, I will say the arrows are beyond thee. May I tell you today, each of us will eventually come to the place in our life when the arrows are beyond us. You, if you haven't already, will one day come to the place where the arrows are beyond thee. Many times in my life, I've come to the place where I thought, man, these arrows are beyond me. It is just out of my control. And by the way, everybody gets there. Sometimes it's due to finances. Sometimes it's due to a family situation. Sometimes it has to do with the way people are acting, and you can't change other people. You can only change yourself. Many times in our life, the arrows are beyond us. I think of those that are facing physical plagues. They're physically weak. I think of those that have lupus, those that are battling cancer, those that are just physically weak, and it is not within their power to change it. May I tell you, you and I are going to come to the place, if we haven't already, that the arrows are beyond us. And might I encourage you, when the arrows are beyond you, not to sit down and cry. I see three things that David did when the arrows were beyond him that allowed him later in life to not only serve the Lord, but to one day sit on the throne. First of all, I see he stopped hoping for a different situation. When David heard the arrows were beyond him, he didn't stay. He didn't try to fight the reality. He didn't hope for a different situation. He said, this is my lot for right now. I cannot stay. Even though he'd already been anointed as king of Israel. Even though the throne was rightfully his. He didn't balk at what God was doing. David accepted it, and he went his own way. Man, I tell you, there are times that you have to be where you are. There are times in life you have to just stop hoping for a different situation. And might I encourage you, when the arrows are beyond you, stop hoping for a different situation. Stop hoping for a different lot in life. And then another thing I see that he did is he stayed removed from toil and contention. David didn't go around picking fights with everybody. In fact, we see he actually disguised himself as a madman to avoid conflict. And I think David understood, look, I'm already weary from this battle that I'm in with Saul. I'm already hurting. I'm already not in my right frame of mind. I can't afford another battle. Might I encourage you, when you are not where you want to be, don't be picking fights with everybody and everything. Don't be in the midst of contention. Remove yourself as best you can from contention, and don't complain about where you're at. There are some people, they're in a bad situation, and they get themselves in a worse situation because they're hurting and they're upset. They make things worse in their own situation. So I see, first of all, he didn't complain about his situation. I see he stopped hoping for a different situation. He just accepted what God was doing. And then he stayed removed from toil and contention. And the last thing I see is that he served where he was. Though David was not on the throne in Israel, he was not idle while he was waiting for God to fix the problem with Saul. David understood that even though the arrows were beyond him to change Saul's heart, he needed to stay busy until God worked it out for him. You look at David. There were some folks that were hurting and they were downtrodden and they needed David to lead them. And so what did he do? Here he was, the arrows were beyond him to change his situation, but he stepped up and served others while he was waiting on what he couldn't fix. He looked and he said, the situation with Saul is out of my hands, but that doesn't mean I can't serve God where I'm at. And the downtrodden men that came to David eventually became David's mighty men. You see, David stayed busy serving where he was at. Did he want to be where he was? No. He didn't want to be hiding in the woods. He didn't want to be hiding in a cave. But he didn't complain about where he was. He accepted where he was. He understood emotionally where he was, and he avoided the contention. And then he served faithfully where he was. And in course of time, God gave him the palace. Might I encourage you today? If the arrows are beyond thee in an area, don't sit down and pout. Accept what God is doing. Keep yourself out of conflict and serve God faithfully where he has placed you, so that one day you can look back from the palace and say, I thank God that when the arrows were beyond me, I stayed faithful to him. I hope this challenge has been an encouragement to you. We love you, folks. We'll see you tonight at 7.